How do you get more people to show up to your conference, your workshop, your in-person summit, your event? How do you get more people in the room, bums and seats? That's exactly what I'm going to be walking you through today. I'm Seth Ferguson, and I grew my conference from zero, starting from scratch, zero to the largest real estate investing conference in the entire country. So I've learned a thing or two about getting people in the room, about making all the mistakes that you can make in terms of filling the seats, selling tickets, all of that type of stuff. So I'm going to walk you through how you can sell more tickets, get more people in the room for your event. And quite honestly, now we actually consult with other events and help them scale. And we've worked with events in all sorts of different industries. But the thing that's really stood out to me is most events they come to me and say, hey, Seth, I'm having a challenge. I think I have a marketing problem. And so, all of their energy is wrapped up in trying to solve this marketing issue. But most of the time, the marketing, it's not there, but it's also missing the event itself. Something's missing from the event. And I call that the big promise. And so what happens is if we're trying to sell out this event, but the event itself is lacking, well, we're just trying to flog a dead horse. Okay, so I'm going to draw this out for you and walk you through a couple key different steps that we have to follow to make sure we can actually scale and sell out this conference to get more people to your event. So number one is going to be data. We need data for anything. So before we make any decisions about your event, actually, I was just on a call with an event. Before we make any changes to your event or whatnot, we have to use data. So it can come in the form of interviews with past customers, past attendees, potential prospects, surveys. We use a lot of surveys to gather information and feedback, but we have to base our decisions on data. If we're just guessing, it doesn't work. And this is what happens with a lot of events, right? So they say, oh yeah, I'd love to run this event. This is my idea. I'm just going to build it. Well, what's that based on? A hunch? No, that's not the way to build a profitable, scalable event. So we start with data, understand what the market pain points are, the challenges, what the market wants, and then we build an event based on that. That's the number one secret sauce in terms of building a scalable event. You have to give the market what it wants. So we have to collect the data first before we make any decisions. Then we have to move on, and I call it the 3 S's, the 3 S's. So the 3 S's are speakers, sponsors, and spectators, and in that order. So the question is, well, who are the speakers who can attract a cold audience, an audience who has no idea who you are? Because when we think about events, here, let me just draw this out. Most people run events like this. It's an upside down triangle. So they have a lead magnet up top. They try and get them into some type of offer. Then they send them up to another offer. And then they're like, hey, we should run an event for all of our clients. We should run an event. And then they wonder why people aren't showing up to it. That's what most people do. When I started, because I had no event experience. So I was coming in with a very different approach and way of looking at events because I didn't know how people were running it. I do it this way. So our event is the tip of the spear. That's what we drive into the marketplace. And from the event, we can make offers and bring people into products. And then at the end, we can run workshops and masterminds down here, not just the event. So the event, most of the time, should be a huge lead generation exercise for you. Thousands or tens of thousands of leads should come pouring in just because you're running this event. And what happens is, and I'll circle this back, what happens is people try selling their event to people who already know them. Well, you don't want that. You want to have your event act as a lead magnet to generate fresh prospects. And that's why with speakers, who are the speakers who are going to attract an audience who has no idea who you are? Because once you get them in the room, now they're introduced to you, your audience grows. And you can use different speakers to tap into different demographics and different types of people to bring them to your event. Sponsors, right? And some events use sponsors, some events don't. But if you are an event who wants to take advantage of sponsorship done right, having some key sponsors can make a huge impact on, number one, the profitability and the cash flow you have, but number two, how people perceive your event. So we're working with one client, I'll use this one as an example, C-suite level audience. Like they're all C-suites. That's a very, very valuable audience of key decision makers for their companies. Other companies will want to pay a premium to help support your event and solve issues. Because let's say your event, the big promise is, we help you scale your sales teams. That's your event. Well, maybe some people will have HR issues. Maybe some people will have hiring issues, whatever it is. You don't solve that in your event or your service, your back-end product, but a key sponsor may be able to help. So now you're able to offer a more comprehensive solution to your audience, but also get investment from that sponsor, and that's going to help you fulfill your event. And then spectators, that's the last one. Speakers, sponsors, spectators. With spectators, you want to get the bumps and seats, but we don't worry about that until after we've built that foundation. We have to have the core promise of the event. We have to have the data. We have to have the sponsors in place. Now we worry about converting those cold spectators who have no idea who you are. Because the worst thing is, if you're just selling to people who already know you, you're on that hamster creation, that hamster wheel of offer creation, where you're always trying to create a new offer, or you make your offer, everybody's already heard it, so nobody picks up on it, right? If you have a good chunk of your audience of new, fresh people who are brand new, just meeting you for the first time, you can use that same offer and over and over and over again and still get results. Plus, the benefit is you're growing your community, you're growing your database, your mailing list, and it just keeps going and going and going. That's what we want to do. But again, everything goes back to the data and actually understanding what your audience and what your market is looking for, and we build an event based on that. So once we have the 3 S's in place, now we actually have to worry about how we get people in the room. So how we do this is there's going to be 3 stages to this. Let me just draw this out. Okay, the first one here is lead gen. We have to generate leads for your event. And what I found works really, really well is paid traffic, running ads, because you can place your event in front of total strangers and they will see your event. Now, whether or not they go and buy, that's later on down the road, but you can pay to get your event in front of total strangers. Now, a lot of events make a number of key mistakes when it comes to advertising and marketing their event. Number one, they underestimate how many people they have to get into their pipeline, into their funnel to sell out the event. They underestimate that, so their numbers are way off base before they even start. Number two, they're using the wrong messaging, or they're running really crappy ads. I was just talking earlier on today with somebody, the ad creative they run sucks. So of course they're not getting any results. And then once somebody clicks on the ad, they're not setting up their funnels and their pages the right way to actually generate results. So of course they're not generating ads. But I think in terms of the number one biggest mistake events make when they're running ads, or they're sending people from their email list or wherever, is they will send people to a page and show them all the ticket pricing. They will have a buy a ticket right now option. Now, here's the thing. When somebody sees an event for the first time, there's a lot that goes into making a decision to attend an event. You got to do scheduling, take time off work. Who's going to watch the kids? They have to talk with their husband or their wife. They got to do all these flights or drive, hotels. Nobody, especially if they're cold, is going to see your event for the very first time and buy a ticket. But if we're running ads and dumping a whole bunch of money into sending people to a page where all they do is see the ticket price and they bounce, you have no way of contacting them. That's being passive in your business, because now you're just hoping they come back. You want to be active. You want to generate the lead and then have a whole process in place to take that person from interested to buying a ticket. And this is where conversion comes into play. And I spent millions of dollars marketing events. I've gone through agencies before, no success, because everybody thinks they can sell event tickets. Very few people can. It's definitely a niche skill. And I've learned a thing or two about filling the room with events. So lead gen, then conversion. So with conversion, we have to take those interested people and bring them over the fence. And here's what most events do, right? They will take a lead and just send emails, run an email drip sequence. Oh, I hear this all the time. Oh, but Seth, we have 8 emails we send out as soon as somebody opts in. Okay, honest question. If you're on the fence about an event and you receive an email, is that in any way going to convince somebody to show up? No, absolutely not. And there's something called the missing 40. Now, let me introduce you to this concept. The missing 40 is the 40% of buyers who are on the fence, who could have bought, but they didn't, because you played defense with your marketing, you played defense with your sales process, you play defense, you're very passive. And this is true. It's 40% of my ticket revenue. Our clients, when they implement this process, we've got video testimonials of them saying, hey, 40% increase in our ticket sales because we did this. This is proven. And so what happens is with events, like I said before, there's a lot that goes into it. They got to hum and haw. They got to talk with their husband, their spouse, whatever. They got to figure out travel arrangements. They're humming and hawing. It's a big ask to have somebody show up to an event. Now, when they do show up, it's the best prospect. It's the best audience your business will ever have, period, hands down. But we got to get them there. So if we're just relying on emails and retargeting ads to get somebody over the fence, it's not going to happen. But unless you're Taylor Swift. But if you're going to actually play offense and now contact people and actually get them on the phone and find out why they're interested in coming to the event and what the problem is they're experiencing, what prompted them to opt in, what are their goals? You want to find out all this information, and then you can let them know about your event. Oh, well, remember how you told me you're having this problem? Well, this is exactly what this event is covering. And this is what, you're basically running a phone sales call. And we have all the scripts for that. We have all the cadences. We have all the KPIs, exactly how many dials you have to make to have sell so many tickets. We have all of that stuff. So if you are running an event and you need help with that, go to theconferenceaccelerator.com. Robbie's going to post that up on the bottom here, theconferenceaccelerator.com. We literally hand you our entire playbook of what we use. So you can just copy what we do and we'll help implement that. Okay, so the conference accelerator, theconferenceaccelerator.com. Okay, so conversion. We have to have that conversion mechanism in place. If we don't, your event, your marketing, your advertising, everything you're doing is not going to be efficient. Because think about it this way. If you don't have those conversion mechanisms in place, you're missing 40% of your prospective sales. That's a huge chunk. That's almost half your revenue that you're missing out on if you don't do this stuff. So it's worth your time and your effort to make sure you implement this stuff. Okay? Now, once you do that, once you convert them, now we want to make sure we've got back end. So with back end, the back end is your product or the service or the thing that somebody's going to want to continue working with you. Because here's the thing I've found about events, that it is a very high intent audience. People come to live events and they show up because they're seeking a solution to a problem. That's why they come. And that's why live events are the best audience you will ever have for your business. But they're looking for some type of solution. So they come to your event. They get a lot of value. There's going to be a portion of that audience, whether it's 10%, 15%, 20% of the audience, 25%, 30% of the audience, that's going to want to continue working with you because they are still actively seeking help and a solution to their problem. That's where a back-end product or service comes in. So you just say, hey, listen, I know you guys have had a great time. You've learned this and this and this and this. There's still all of this stuff that we have to accomplish. And if you want to continue working with me, this is what it looks like. This is what we charge. Let me know if you're interested. Perfect. It doesn't have to be a super hard sell. It can be really soft, but that's your back end. Now, there's a right way, and definitely I've made a ton of mistakes on how to do back end, and I've done things the right way. I've been through the trenches. I've got the gray hair. We can help you. Like one of our clients did multi-million dollars at their event. It was like a 2-day event that just crushed it in terms of their back end. But you have to have the right people in the room. So this is why everything comes back to lead gen and data. If your data is wrong, or if you're just guessing, you're not going to have that back end success. You need to have the right data so you can come up with the right messaging and the right hooks and the right sequences to generate the leads of the right people. Then you have to have the right mechanism to convert those people into paid ticket sales. And then once you convert them to paid ticket sales, you know you have the right people in the room. Now you present your offer, the right offer for that audience in the right way. And that's how you monetize. That's how you have $1 million event. Hands down, that's how you have $1 million or multi-million-dollar event. But events, and what I found is, a lot of events come to us, they're at a couple hundred people, 500 people, generally under 1,000 people. And they're like, hey, Seth, I want to scale my event and make it big like yours. And, these are the main pieces of the puzzle that we focus on, right? We have to solve and build this foundation. And in terms of back end, right, there's other things that come. So I call this the revenue triad. So with the revenue triad, there's 3 things. So we just talked about back end, right? Then we've got sponsorship. So how do you actually sell sponsorship? How do you find the right sponsors? How do you pitch and sell sponsorship to maximize the dollar value, but also what the sponsor gets out of it? How do you create those activations? There's that. There's also tickets. And a lot of events set up and structure their tickets the wrong way. They're either dramatically undercharging, or they don't have the right ticket tiers. They have a single ticket tier. There's so much that can be done with ticket tiers that can help you with your lead gen, your conversion, and your back end. If you have a service that's, let's say, $25,000, but you're generating leads that are the wrong people, you're not going to sell anything. If you're selling that $25K offer, that service, whatever it is, and you're selling tickets for $99, $100, $200, you're going to get the wrong people in the room. Your pricing and how you structure your tickets and the experience they get for each ticket tier, that's your biggest differentiator in terms of getting the right people in the room, but more importantly, separating and highlighting key people in your audience so now you can target them in different ways, because the person who's paying you $5,000, for example, is going to be very different than the person paying you $500. So how do you deliver the best possible experience to those people to make sure they get the results, but also to make sure how you offer them valuable services that they can continue with you and keep working with you, but how do you segment that? That is huge, right? But all of this stuff goes into it. So, and that's what I mean. A lot of events come to me thinking they have a marketing issue. Well, I've just highlighted some very key things and foundational items that must be in place before we even look at the marketing, right? Lead gen. So we've got data. We got to build this out. We got to figure all of this stuff out, and then we start running ads. Now, some events that we work with, they don't even run ads. They've got a strong social media presence, so we can leverage that. Or some of them do like some very corporate, like B2B. So we run a very different playbook for that. It's a lot of direct outreach and cold outreach. But no matter which way you slice and dice it, you have to have the foundation of your event built out, and this is how you run $1 million event. So if you're struggling to get people in the seats at 100 people, well, guess what? To grow your event, there's something that has to change. And most likely you're missing a piece in the equation. And that's why you're not growing, right? There's in my space, when I first started, there were hundreds of events in my space, hundreds. Why didn't mine grow to be so big? Well, it's just, I cracked the code. I got all the right pieces in order. Now, did I make a lot of mistakes? Absolutely. That's why I have gray hair, right? I made a ton of mistakes, right? You make money, you lose money, all that type of stuff. But there's a reason why all of the other events are where they're at and how mine like rose to the top. It's these foundational like, all right? So if you are looking for help, check out theconfidenceaccelerator.com. They'll hop on a call with one of our guys. They know events, they can help you out. They'll help provide some clarity, point you in the right direction. And if we can help, great. If not, that's okay too. We'll let you know, but we'll give you some pointers and help you as much as we can on that call. So there's no pressure there. But for sure, we've worked with a ton of events in many different spaces. And it's just pretty cool to see, the systems operating all across North America in many, many, many different sectors. So I hope this was helpful. This is how you fill the room. You got to get this dialed in. This is how you fill the room. If you're missing a piece, let me know. Let's get in touch. All right. Talk to you next week.